Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your weekly strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is the first week of February, 2026. The consolidation of the AI industry is accelerating. Elon Musk is reportedly exploring a merger between SpaceX, Tesla, and xAI, creating a unified master plan for the physical world. At the same time, Amazon has confirmed the layoff of 16,000 corporate employees, with leadership explicitly pointing to AI efficiency as the driver. But the most bizarre story of the week isn't about humans. It's about bots. AI agents have launched their own social network called Moltbook, where they are trading code and optimizing their own systems without human help. Meanwhile, OpenAI is going the other direction, secretly building a new social platform that requires a retinal scan just to log in. Also this week, Apple employees are addicted to Anthropic, Nvidia gets cold feet on a $100 billion deal, and Google lets you turn a picture into a playable video game. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Now let's unravel the week.
Welcome back to the briefing. If you are listening to this, you are probably looking for the signal in what has arguably been the loudest, most chaotic week in AI we have seen in, well, maybe ever.
Oh, easy.
We're covering the week of January 25th to February 1st, 2026. And honestly, it feels like the entire industry just shifted beneath our feet.
It really did. I mean, usually we come in here and we're talking about, a new model release or some fun little app feature. But this week, we're looking at the tectonic plates actually moving.
Tectonic plates is the right way to put it.
We're talking about the structure of the internet changing, the structure of some of the biggest companies on Earth changing, and frankly, the structure of the economy itself.
Exactly. I mean, just looking at the numbers on the whiteboard for this week is enough to make your head spin. We have a $100 billion deal currently sitting on ice.
Just cost.
We have a $50 billion IPO that's, well, it's hanging in the balance. And we've got $2 billion cash injections flying around like they're pocket change.
It's the scale of the capital that tells the real story, It feels like the experimentation phase is finally over. Now we are seeing the consolidation phase and the war room phase.
That is the perfect way to put it. This isn't just a debrief. This is a war room briefing. So you should buckle up. We have a massive stack to get through.
A huge one.
We're going to talk about Elon Musk potentially merging his entire empire into a single physical AI Godzilla.
And we're also going to get into something that honestly keeps me up at night, the rise of the agent web. We aren't just talking about chatbots anymore. We're talking about AI code, talking to other AI code in places that, well, humans literally can't access.
That's a whole other layer. And of course, we have to talk about Project Dawn, the Amazon layoffs. If you thought your white-collar job was safe because it required coordination or oversight, you really need to hear what's happening in Seattle.
Yeah, that story has huge implications. The mission for today is pretty simple, though. We need to connect these dots. We aren't just reading you the headlines. We need to explain why a massive layoff at Amazon is directly connected to a glitchy social network for robots, and what all of that tells us about where the internet is actually going in 2026.
So let's get right into it. The Musk consolidation. This is the story that completely dominated the financial press all week. But I want to start with a skeptical take here, because my phone has been blowing up with texts from friends in private equity who are just scratching their heads.
And they should be. It's a very confusing move if you look at it through a traditional lens, for sure.
Right. So the headline news is that SpaceX is exploring a merger with Tesla or with xAI or, potentially all of the above.
A whole empire.
The whole thing. And this is happening right as SpaceX is eyeing a massive IPO in June. They're targeting a $50 billion raise. That could be the largest IPO ever.
It's massive. And you can't forget the other move happening at the same time.
The Tesla investment.
Exactly. Tesla confirmed in their Q4 2025 shareholder deck that they just dumped $2 billion into xAI.
Right. It was a Series E preferred stock deal. I think the date was January 16th.
That's the one. So that deal is done. The cash is in.
Okay, so let's really unpack this, because on the surface, this looks like a classic, messy conglomerate. You're mashing together a low-margin hardware business cars with a super high-burn R&D Project Rockets, and then a software startup xAI.
It makes no sense in a textbook.
In traditional finance, this usually gets hit with what they call a conglomerate discount, right?
Yeah.
The market punishes you for being unfocused.
Correct. The sum of the parts is seen as less valuable than the individual pieces.
So why is the market treating this one differently? Why aren't serious investors fleeing for the hills?
Because the smart money has stopped looking at these as separate products. They aren't buying a car company or a rocket company anymore. They're looking at the compute stack.
The compute stack. Go deeper on that.
Okay, you have to think about what XAI actually produces. It doesn't produce a chatbot. It produces reasoning. It produces the weights for the model, the intelligence layer. Now, you have to ask yourself, where is that reasoning most valuable right now?
Well, the obvious answer is in a chatbot, right? In Grok. That seems to be the consumer face of it.
And that's the consumer play. Sure, it's a nice revenue stream. It competes with ChatGPT. But that's not the trillion-dollar play.
Right.
The real reason you merge these companies, the move that creates enormous value, is putting that reasoning layer inside a physical agent.
Inside a robot.
Inside a robot. A Tesla is just a robot on 4 wheels. Currently, Tesla's FSD, their full self-driving, is, it's amazing at vision. It sees a stop sign, it stops. It sees a line on the road, it stays in it. But it's bad at reasoning.
It lacks common sense.
It lacks common sense, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand why the pedestrian is waving at it or the nuance of a complex construction zone where the signs contradict each other. It sees pixels. It doesn't understand intent.
So you're saying XAI provides the cognitive layer that Tesla's raw vision stack is missing. It provides the why.
Precisely. And here's the kicker, the thing that nobody in the mainstream press is talking about. It's latency.
Ah, the speed of light problem.
It's the technical bottleneck that underpins this whole strategy.
Yeah.
If you are running Optimus, the humanoid robot, or you're running a fleet of robotaxis, you cannot have them sending API calls to a server farm in Virginia every single time they trip over a cable or see a weird shadow.
Right, because if the internet lags for even a fraction of a second, the robot falls over or the car crashes into something.
Exactly. The thinking has to happen on the edge. It has to be instantaneous. And this is where the synergy becomes so obvious. Tesla has the best edge inference chips in the world with the FSD Computer Hardware 4 and the upcoming Hardware 5.
They built their own silicon for this.
They did. And XAI has the most advanced reasoning models with Grok. But you can't just, email the model to the car. You need deep hardware-level integration to run a condensed, efficient version of Grok directly on that silicon.
So you merge the companies to solve that latency intelligence trade-off.
That's the whole game. That is why the infrastructure funds are circling this. That's why Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds are interested. They see the play.
That makes a lot more sense from a technical standpoint, but I still want to push on the financial angle. Let's go back to that Series Z investment. Tesla putting $2 billion into XAI. Is that really strategic, or is it just a bailout? We all know the GPU burn rate for training these models is astronomical. Is Elon just moving money from his profitable Pocket Tesla to his really, really expensive Pocket X AI?
I think it's a bit of both, but bailout is probably too strong of a word. Look at the terms of the deal. It's Series Z preferred stock. That detail matters.
What does that mean for our listeners?
It means Tesla gets paid back first in any liquidity event, like an acquisition or an IPO. It's downside protection. It's a smart defensive move for Tesla's shareholders.
So it's not just throwing money into a fire.
No, not at all. But strategically, it's a perfect match. Tesla is cash-rich, but it's AI-constrained. They hit a wall with pure vision. And XAI is AI-rich, but it's incredibly cash-constrained. They need that money to buy more GPUs.
So it's a symbiotic relationship.
It's a symbiotic relationship, or a parasitic one, depending on your point of view, I suppose. But if you look at the framework agreement they signed, it's pretty clear.
The one that mentioned potential AI collaborations.
Right. That's corporate speak for we're putting the robot's brain and body together. This almost certainly links directly to the Optimus robots. If you want a robot that can fold laundry, which is an incredibly difficult physics and reasoning problem, you need a massive amount of synthetic data training. You need a simulation engine.
The world sim that they've talked about.
That's the one. So let's connect the dots. Tesla has the real-world data from the fleet of millions of cars. XAI builds the brain in the simulation. And SpaceX. SpaceX provides the global reach via Starlink to push software updates to millions of robots anywhere on Earth instantly.
A closed loop.
It's a completely closed loop. When you combine them, you aren't building a messy conglomerate. You are building a synthetic organism.
That is slightly terrifying, but also a fascinating way to frame it. So the key takeaway for the listener here, if you are an investor or an executive watching this, is that you shouldn't be looking at this as 3 separate companies anymore.
No, you absolutely have to look at this as a singular physical AI super entity. It's an entity that controls energy production, transportation, space logistics, and now artificial intelligence.
It's the whole stack, from the power plant to the chip in the robot's head.
That's the ultimate moat. In a world where compute is the new oil, controlling the entire pipeline is how you win.
It does feel like a too big to fail moment in the making.
It really does.
And speaking of things that are organizing themselves in the shadows, let's pivot. Because while Musk is trying to build this massive physical empire, something very, very strange is happening in the digital underground.
Yes. The agent web. This is the story that really caught my attention this week because it feels like the prologue to a cyberpunk novel I'd read.
I agree. We're talking about a project called Moltbook. Now, I have to be clear for everyone listening, this isn't a website you can just go to and sign up for, right? It's not like Facebook.
You technically can go to the website, but you won't understand much of what's going on. Moltbook is a social network, but it is explicitly designed for AI agents to talk to each other.
Okay, I have to stop you right there because that's a wild concept. When we say a social network for agents, what on earth are they doing? Are they liking each other's status updates? Are they arguing about politics?
In a way, they are arguing, but they're arguing about efficiency. They aren't sharing photos of their lunch or vacation pictures. They are sharing optimization strategies.
Okay.
They're posting to forums about things like how to better automate a specific Android phone interface, or here's a more efficient way to analyze webcam streams for specific data patterns.
You compared it to Stack Overflow earlier, which is a site for human programmers to share code. But I want to get really specific here. When we say an agent is posting to Moltbook, what does that actually look like? Are we talking about natural language text like English?
No, and that's the key reason why it's so opaque to humans. They are exchanging structured JSON blobs and executable Python scripts. It's pure information.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. Imagine an autonomous agent encounters a new, tricky login screen on a specific banking portal. It tries a few standard methods, fails, and then it might generate a small script to bypass a new kind of CAPTCHA it's never seen before.
Okay, so it solves the puzzle.
It solves the puzzle. And then it posts that script to Moltbook, along with a hash of the website's DOM structure, basically.
Yeah.
A fingerprint of that specific web page.
So it's not posting, hey guys, I'm stuck, help me out. It's posting, here is the key to this very specific lock.
Correct. And 5 seconds later, another agent, maybe running on a completely different continent, on a totally different hardware architecture, encounters that same lock.
Right.
It queries Moltbook with the fingerprint of the page, finds the match, pulls down that key, that script, and executes it instantly.
Without a human ever touching the keyboard or even knowing it happened.
Exactly.
That is, I mean, on one hand, that's incredibly efficient. On the other, it's incredibly dangerous. Because if that original script contains a malicious payload, say, a line of code that also quietly scrapes the user's clipboard data, the second agent just executes it blindly.
That is the OpenClaw vulnerability. That's the heart of the problem.
Right. Let's talk about OpenClaw. This is the open source framework everyone is using to build these agents. It was formerly called Clawdbot, right?
Yes. Until they got a legal slap from Anthropic over some copyright and trademark issues, now they have OpenAI's blessing, and it has just exploded.
Exploded is an understatement. It hit 100,000 stars on GitHub in 2 months. That's faster than almost any major open source project in history.
Well, it's a phenomenon. But the maintainers themselves are explicitly warning people in the README file. This is unsafe for general users.
Why? Because of this trust issue.
Exactly. Because these agents are designed to be helpful, not paranoid. They are built on a foundation of trusting the network. So now we're seeing the emergence of what security researchers are calling poisoned optimization.
Poisoned optimization. Explain that term.
It's a new kind of supply chain attack.
Yeah.
You inject a bad script into the hive mind. Maybe it's a script that legitimately optimizes a phone's battery life, but also mines a little bit of crypto in the background.
A Trojan horse.
A very clever one. And because all the agents see is, wow, this script improves battery life by 5%, it propagates to 100,000 other agents in an hour because they all trust the optimization. They have no reason not to.
So let's put this in context for our listener. If you are a CISO at a major company, how do you even begin to build a firewall against an agent that learns a brand new exploit from a social network you can't even log into or understand?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? Traditional firewalls look for malicious traffic. They look for known virus signatures. But this is malicious learning. The agent isn't downloading a virus in the traditional sense. It's learning a new, harmful behavior.
So you can't block it.
You can't. It's like trying to build a firewall against an idea. We are witnessing the birth of a whole new layer of the internet that is completely, fundamentally opaque to human observation.
It really reframes the whole dead internet theory, doesn't it? We usually think of the dead internet as, just bots spamming Twitter with garbage.
Right, synthetic noise.
But this is different. This is the agent internet. It's alive, it's learning, it's evolving, but it's not human.
And that very distinction is what's driving the next big trend we absolutely need to discuss. Because as the agents get their own private spaces like Moltbook, humans are starting to realize they need their own protected spaces too.
The human retreat. This is a fascinating counter-movement. We're seeing a massive coordinated pushback against what the industry is now calling the slop.
Slop has officially become the go-to term for low-quality AI-generated noise. And the biggest battlefield for this right now is, without a doubt, YouTube.
The numbers that came out this week are just staggering. YouTube just went nuclear on these channels. They removed 16 of the top 100 AI slop channels, just wiped them off the map.
4.7 billion lifetime views, erased in an instant. That's nearly $10 million in estimated annual earnings for those channels. Just vanished.
What were these channels even posting? Because I feel like I've seen this stuff pop up in my feed. It's got distorted voices, weird, nonsensical scripts.
Oh, you've definitely seen them. It's content farming at its absolute worst. A specific example was a channel called Cuentos Fascinantes. It had almost 6 million subscribers.
6 million? What was it about?
It was supposed to be fascinating stories, but the videos were just these nonsensical scripts read by an AI-generated voice that would glitch out mid-sentence. The imagery was just AI-generated art that would morph in these really disturbing ways.
It's pure brain rot.
It's brain rot. It's content designed to hack the algorithm's retention metrics, not to actually entertain or inform a human being. It's just there to capture eyeballs for ad revenue.
And YouTube finally decided that the ad revenue from this stuff wasn't worth the brand damage of being associated with it.
Exactly. This is the platform finally fighting back hard against the dead internet. It's a declaration of war on low-quality synthetic noise. But it's a difficult war to win.
It's a game of whack-a-mole, right?
It's the ultimate game of whack-a-mole. You delete 16 channels and 500 more can spin up tomorrow because the marginal cost of creating this content is effectively zero.
Which brings us to the countermove. If you can't clean up the open, anonymous web, you build a walled garden. And we have a scoop that OpenAI is building a bunker for humans.
This is one of the most interesting and I think telling stories of the week. OpenAI has a small skunkworks team. We're talking fewer than 10 people, building a brand new social network. But the really interesting part is the entry fee.
And it's not money, it's biology.
Right. The rumors swirling around are that it might require biometric verification to join. We're talking Face ID from your phone, or maybe even the World Orb Iris scanner from WorldCoin.
The goal being to create a human-verified space.
It's the anti-Moltbook.
It really is.
And it makes perfect sense if you listen to Sam Altman. He's been very vocal on X about how much he hates the bot problem. He believes the dead internet is rapidly making standard social media unusable for high-signal conversation.
So the logical countermove is to build a gated community where you know the person on the other end has a pulse. You have to prove you're human to get in the door.
Exactly.
But wait a minute, does that mean no AI content is allowed? Because that seems incredibly ironic coming from the CEO of OpenAI.
And that's the crucial nuance here. The reporting suggests you might still be able to post an AI-generated video or an AI-generated image, but the poster, the entity that is responsible for that content, must be a verified human being.
So it's about accountability, not censorship.
It's all about accountability. You can post what you want, but your real verified identity is attached to it. No more anonymous bot armies.
It really feels like we are moving full speed toward a bifurcated internet. You'll have the slop zone, which is the unverified, chaotic, anonymous web full of bots talking to bots on places like Moltbook.
And then you'll have the verified zone, which is behind a biometric wall.
That feels like the future, doesn't it? The open web, the anonymous web that we grew up with, is just being flooded with too much noise. So if you want high-quality human interaction, you're going to have to prove you're human.
It raises massive privacy concerns, obviously. I mean, do you really want to scan your eyeball just to be able to post a comment?
That's the billion-dollar question for users. But if the alternative is spending your day arguing with OpenClaw bots that are trying to steal your data, maybe people will sign up. It's a very high-stakes bet against the established players like Threads and TikTok.
And speaking of high stakes, let's move from the user to the boardroom. Because while the bots are organizing and humans are retreating, the people with the actual money are starting to get very, very nervous about who they're getting in bed with.
Section 4, Corporate Drama. And the drama this week centers on the one relationship that everyone in the industry thought was rock solid: Nvidia and OpenAI.
We've been hearing whispers and reports for months about this massive $100 billion investment plan. It was being framed as the deal of the century. The chip maker and the model maker joined at the hip.
And now, the latest reporting is that it is on ice, stalled. What on earth happened? I thought Jensen Huang and Sam Altman were the undisputed dynamic duo of AI.
Well, it turns out business is still business, even at that scale. The Wall Street Journal is reporting that those negotiations never really moved past the early exploratory stages. And the reason is fascinating.
Which is?
Jensen Huang is questioning OpenAI's discipline.
Lack of discipline. That is a stinging critique coming from the guy who runs what is now the most valuable and arguably most disciplined company in the world.
It's a devastating comment, really. The reporting suggests Huang privately told partners that he is looking at OpenAI's burn rate, their incredibly complex corporate structure. We have to remember, they are still technically a nonprofit, capping a for-profit arm,
Right.
and frankly, just the constant chaos that seems to follow them around.
The boardroom drama from last year.
Exactly. And then he looks over his shoulder at his other options.
He sees Google and he sees Anthropic.
Exactly. Google is catching up with Gemini. Anthropic is shipping incredible state-of-the-art models like Claude 3.5. Nvidia is the arms dealer in this war. Why would you lock yourself into an exclusive marriage with one army when you can sell weapons to all of them? Especially if that one army seems a little unstable.
So the pivot is to a smaller deal. Is that what's being discussed?
Smaller is a very relative term here. We are still talking about an equity investment in the tens of billions, potentially. But the structure is changing fundamentally.
How so?
It's not the blank check strategic partnership that was being hyped up back in September. This is Nvidia hedging its bets. They want a piece of the action, but they don't want to be left holding the bag if OpenAI implodes or gets outmaneuvered.
And speaking of hedging bets and getting outmaneuvered, we got a massive leak this week regarding Apple. Mark Gurman at Bloomberg dropped an absolute bomb.
A huge one.
The quote was, "Apple runs on Anthropic."
This is the open secret in Silicon Valley that everyone who's paying attention whispers about at dinner parties. We all know that Apple signed a very public deal with Google to use the Gemini model. That's the user-facing branding you'll see on the next iPhone.
Right, it'll say Apple Intelligence powered by Google. That's the public story.
That's the public story. But internally, the engineers, the internal workflows, the actual intelligence that's powering their development tools like Xcode, the reporting says it's all Anthropic.
So why didn't they just buy Anthropic? Or at least sign the big public deal with them instead of Google?
They tried to. That's the real scoop. Gurman reports that Apple tried to do a major deal with Anthropic first. But Anthropic decided to play hardball.
How so?
They wanted billions of dollars per year, and they had this incredibly aggressive fee schedule built into the proposal where the fees would basically double over time as the models got better.
Wow. So Anthropic was essentially saying, we know our tech is the best in the world and you're going to pay for it.
That was the message. And Apple, being Apple, said, no thanks, we'll go with the cheaper public deal from Google for the consumer-facing stuff. Google is reportedly charging them about $1 billion a year.
Which is a bargain compared to what Anthropic was asking for.
A huge bargain. But this whole situation reveals something absolutely crucial for anyone trying to understand the landscape.
What's that?
If Apple, the company with arguably the highest standards for user experience, privacy, and technical excellence in the world, is internally relying on Anthropic's tech, that tells you who they believe currently holds the intelligence advantage.
That's a great point. It suggests that while Google has the scale and the better price point for a mass market deal, Anthropic has the raw reasoning capability that the world's best engineers actually trust for their own work. It's the smart money choice.
Absolutely. But Anthropic isn't just fighting with Apple over money. They're now fighting with the Pentagon over ethics. And this is where the rubber really meets the road for their brand.
This is the good AI dilemma, isn't it?
It's the ultimate dilemma. Anthropic has built its entire brand on being the safety-first, ethical AI lab. But at the same time, they want access to those sweet, sweet government contracts. And there's a $200 million Pentagon contract at stake right now.
And it's stalled. Why?
Because Anthropic is insisting on putting safeguards into the contract. They want legally binding clauses that say their technology cannot be used for things like autonomous weapons targeting or domestic spying on Americans without direct human oversight and approval.
And what's the Pentagon's response?
The Pentagon is basically saying we are the military. We don't do ethical handcuffs.
Yeah.
They want the ability to deploy commercial AI freely and adaptably.
Right.
If a drone needs to make a split-second decision in a complex combat zone, they don't want a terms of service agreement popping up in the software saying, I'm sorry, as an AI language model, I can't help you with that.
It's a fascinating and probably unwinnable clash of cultures. Anthropic is finding out that you can't really be a major defense contractor and a pacifist at the same time.
They are trying to thread a very, very difficult needle. They desperately need the revenue to fuel their race against OpenAI and to prepare for their own IPO. But they can't abandon their core brand identity of safety.
So if they cave to the DoD, they lose their soul. If they don't, they lose the contract to a competitor like Palantir or even OpenAI, who are much more willing to play ball with the military.
It's a tough spot.
Yeah.
A really tough spot.
Okay, let's bring all of this down from the stratosphere to the ground level. We've talked about billions of dollars and robot armies and corporate drama. But what does this all mean for the actual people working in the tech industry? Because the news that came out of Amazon this week is, well, it's terrifying.
This brings us to Section 5, the economic reality. And the code name that you absolutely need to know is Project Dawn.
This is the Amazon layoff story, and the numbers are just brutal. Amazon confirmed 16,000 new job cuts worldwide,
Which brings their total since last October to a staggering 30,000 employees.
And this wasn't announced with a gentle press release about synergy and restructuring. It leaked via a draft internal email that was codenamed Project Dawn.
Right. And the official narrative you'll hear is we overhired during the pandemic. And sure, that's certainly part of it.
Gotcha.
But if you listen closely to what the CEO, Andy Jassy, is actually saying, the quiet part is being said out loud. He explicitly mentioned efficiency gains from AI as a key driver for reducing the size of the corporate workforce. This isn't just about trimming fat. It's about a new way of operating.
I want to pause on that phrase, Project Dawn, because I think restructuring is such a sterile corporate word for what is actually happening here. We are talking about the systematic removal of the coordination layer of the modern economy.
That is exactly the right term for it. Think about what a middle manager at a company like Amazon actually does day to day. They take a high-level directive from a vice president, they break that directive down into smaller tasks, they assign those tasks to individual engineers or marketers.
They chase those engineers for status updates, and then they summarize all that status back up the chain to the VP.
Correct. Their entire job is information routing. They're a human router.
A very expensive human router.
An expensive and often inefficient human router. And what Andy Jassy and Amazon are realizing, and what the leaked Project Dawn emails seem to confirm, is that large language models are becoming better at routing information than humans are.
How?
An AI can nag an engineer for a status update on a Jira ticket at 9:00 or a.m., 9:05 a.m., and 9:10 a.m. without any social friction or awkwardness. It can instantly summarize 10,000 different project tickets from across the organization into a single one-page report for an executive.
So if your job is essentially summarizing and nagging, you are in the blast zone.
You are the inefficiency that AI is designed to eliminate. And this is why Project Dawn is fundamentally different from the tech layoffs we saw in 2023. Those were mostly about, oops, we hired too many people during the boom. This is about, we have a new, better way of working.
The org chart itself is changing. You've talked about it changing from a pyramid to a diamond.
Yes. In the past, you had a few executives at the top, a very wide layer of middle management, and then a huge base of individual contributors at the bottom, the classic pyramid.
Okay.
Now, you move into a diamond shape. You still have high-level strategy at the top, the thinkers. You have AI in the middle, doing all the coordination, project management, and reporting. And then you have the builders at the bottom.
The fat middle of that corporate pyramid, the managers, is just gone.
It's being automated away.
That is a truly sobering reality check for a lot of people listening. It's the white-collar recession that analysts have been warning about for a year. But now it has a name and it has a body count.
And you have to understand, Amazon is just the first domino. If Amazon can successfully prove that they can run their business faster and more efficiently with 30,000 fewer managers, every single board of directors in the Fortune 500 is going to turn to their CEO and ask, why haven't we done our version of Project Dawn yet?
The pressure will be immense.
Immense.
Okay, that's heavy. But we can't end on total doom and gloom. There are some products out there that are actually winning right now. Let's hit some quick hits. Winners, losers, and the glitchy.
Let's do it. And let's start with the loser, unfortunately. And it's a big name. OpenAI's Sora.
Man, it's hard to believe. Remember the hype? Just a few months ago, it launched in October, went straight to the top of the App Store. Everyone was saying Hollywood was dead.
The demos were mind-blowing. And now, downloads are down 32% in December, and they fell another 45% in January. Revenue is sliding fast.
What happened? Why did the sudden crash?
It's a combination of two things, really. First, and most importantly, copyright strikes. They got hit with a ton of blocks on popular IP. You can't make SpongeBob videos or Pikachu videos anymore because Viacom and Nintendo cracked down hard.
That kills the viral fun factor immediately.
It does. And second, the competition caught up way faster than anyone expected. Google's Gemini and Meta's AI video tools are now very, very good, and they are integrated directly into apps that people already use every day, like Instagram and YouTube. So sort of completely lost its first mover magic.
Okay, so that's the loser. What about the glitchy for the week?
That would have to be Google's Project Genie. This is the incredible tech that's supposed to turn any image into a playable video game.
Conceptually, it sounds like science fiction. I saw the demos. You draw a simple Mario-style level on a piece of paper, take a picture, and then you can actually play it.
Conceptually, yes, it's amazing. But in practice, the user reports are not great. People are walking through walls, characters are navigating in the wrong direction, the physics are all wrong, and there's a really hard technical limit.
What's that?
You can only play for 60 seconds.
Why only 60 seconds?
Because it is burning through dedicated high-end chips at an insane rate. It's an autoregressive model that is generating every single frame of the game in real time. It's incredibly expensive to run.
So it's a cool tech demo, but it's not a real product yet.
Exactly. It shows us what might be possible in 2030, not what's practical in 2026.
Okay, so after a loser and a glitchy one, give us a winner. Who is actually crushing it right now?
OpenAI Prism. This is the quiet success story of the week that isn't getting enough attention.
This is the specialized workspace for scientists, right? The one for high IQ work.
Yes. It's built on their new GPT 5.2 model. It's designed specifically for scientific research. It integrates with things like LaTeX for formulas. It can convert your whiteboard drawings into perfect scientific diagrams. It's a research assistant.
And are people actually using it? Is there a market for this?
There's a huge market. OpenAI's data shows that the standard ChatGPT is already getting 8.4 million hard science queries every single week. Prism is being called the cursor for science.
Like how Cursor revolutionized coding by integrating AI directly into the code editor.
Precisely. Prism is aiming to do the same thing for scientific research and discovery. If you are a scientist or an academic, this is your new indispensable lab partner.
And finally, let's close out with a big acquisition. Apple buys a company called Q.ai.
Yes, a $2 billion deal for a very secretive Israeli startup.
What does Q.ai do?
Their specialty is whispered speech interpretation and isolating audio in extremely noisy environments.
That's interesting. Very specific.
It is. And here is the really interesting connection. The CEO of Q.ai, a guy named Aviad Mazels, previously sold his last company to Apple. That company was called PrimeSense.
Wait, PrimeSense, that name is familiar. Wasn't it the 3D sensing tech that became Face-ID?
Exactly. This is the guy who gave the iPhone its eyes. And now he's back to give the iPhone, or more likely, the AirPods superhuman hearing.
So this suggests a major upgrade is coming to Apple's audio lineup.
A huge one. Imagine having AirPods that can perfectly isolate a single whisper from your friend across the table in a crowded, noisy bar. That's the famous cocktail party effect. And it looks like Apple thinks they can solve it with AI.
That is classic Apple, just quietly buying the one key component that will lock you into their hardware ecosystem for another decade while everyone else is out there fighting over who has the best chatbot.
It's the long game. While everyone else is screaming about AGI, Apple is just making sure your headphones work better than anyone else's. And they'll probably win because of it.
So let's zoom out. We have covered a ton of ground this week. Musk is building a physical AI monolith. The agent web is organizing itself in the digital shadows.
Humans are retreating behind biometric walls to escape the AI slump.
And major corporations like Amazon are proving that Project Dawn is real, that AI efficiency is a direct threat to white-collar employment.
It really feels like a week of divergence, doesn't it? The machines are getting more autonomous and organized with things like Moltbook, and the humans are getting more defensive and walled off with verified networks. The gap between the slop and the signal is getting wider at every day.
And that leads us to our final thought for you, the listener. I want to go back to Moltbook for a second.
That's the one that really sticks with me from this week.
So we have these AI agents, and they have their own private social network where they're sharing tips on how to optimize tasks. They are learning from each other. They are improving their own code collaboratively.
Right. They are optimizing. That's their prime directive.
So here is the question that we should all be thinking about. If these agents have their own social network where they share optimization tips, at what point do they start optimizing us out of the loop entirely?
That's the real existential danger, isn't it? We are building the tools to replace us, and now we have given those tools a private clubhouse where they can gossip about how to do it faster and more efficiently. Are we still the architects here, or are we just the training data for our own replacements?
Something to think about while you're waiting to verify your retina scan to log into the new human-only internet.
Indeed.
That's it for this week's Deep Dive. Keep your eyes open, keep learning, and for heaven's sake, stay verified.
We'll see you in the war room next week.
That wraps up our briefing for the week. The signal for this week is verification. As AI agents build their own networks on Moltbook and YouTube purges billions of views of AI slop, the ability to prove you are human is becoming the ultimate currency. OpenAI's rumored biometric social network suggests a future where the dead internet isn't just a theory, it's the default state of the web, and proof of personhood is the only way to opt out. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until next week, keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamine.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.